Ever wondered what makes a rocket scientist tick?
Mm.
And I don't mean like the nitty-gritty formulas, but that something, the mindset.
Yeah, totally. It's funny, we picture them as these, like, geniuses with their heads in the clouds, right?
Totally.
And-
Tucked away in labs with
No.
equations for wallpaper, practically.
Exactly. But what's cool is Ozan Varol in Think Like a Rocket Scientist, he's like, hold up. It's not about being born brilliant. It's a way of thinking.
Which is kind of reassuring because not all of us can be astrophysicists.
Right. And get this. Varol's own path, it wasn't a straight shot to NASA or anything. Like, he's from Turkey, then Cornell, then working on those Mars rovers.
Oh, wow. So this isn't another one of those follow your passion in a perfectly straight line stories.
Nope. Proves success is like this winding road, you know? He even almost missed his dream job because he thought the email was a mistake.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, imagine almost launching your career into space, but you're thinking, nah, this gotta be for some other rocket scientist, not me.
Oh, man. Talk about a near miss. Makes you want to double check your spam folder just in case.
Right, and it shows you gotta be open to curveballs, like uncertainty.
Okay, but uncertainty, that's kind of scary, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But Varol, he's like, embrace it. He says uncertainty, it's the engine of like every groundbreaking thing ever.
Never thought of it like that. So it's not about avoiding the unknown. It's more like diving in head first.
Exactly. He even quotes, and this is wild, Donald Rumsfeld. Remember him?
Oh, boy. Okay, not exactly who comes to mind for, like, self-help advice.
I know, right? But hear me out. Rumsfeld had that line, unknown unknowns. Sounds kind of obvious, but it's deep. It's like, we get comfy in what we know, but we forget there's a whole universe of stuff we don't even know we don't know.
Makes you feel kind of small, huh?
Definitely puts things in perspective. So, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around all that unknown stuff?
Well, Varol throws us another curveball. He calls it first principles thinking.
Okay, and that is?
It's about ditching assumptions, stripping problems down to their bare bones. He uses Elon Musk as an example, with SpaceX.
Oh, yeah, taking us to Mars and all that.
Right. See, instead of saying, rockets are expensive, end of story, Musk is like, hold up, why are they so pricey?
Kind of like questioning the status quo instead of just accepting it.
Exactly. Like everyone else was building rockets the same old way, but Musk starts from scratch, right? He's thinking, what's the absolute cheapest way to get the basic stuff we need? It's like approaching the problem with fresh eyes.
Exactly. Varol compares it to, get this, the QWERTY keyboard. We all use it, but it's not actually the best layout.
Wait, really? I never even thought about it.
It's true. It was designed for typewriters, like way back, to keep the keys from jamming.
Wow, so we're stuck with a system designed for, like, 100 years ago.
Exactly. But we keep using it because that's how it's always been done. So first principles thinking, it's about finding the QWERTY keyboards in our own lives,
I like that.
Yeah.
So what are we doing just because, well, that's how we've always done it? That's a good question to think about.
Right. Could be your job, a project, even how you make your coffee in the morning, Where are you stuck in that QWERTY keyboard trap?
It's like we need to get back to that, like, 5-year-old mentality.
Yeah, totally. Asking why about everything, even when people are like, enough already.
Exactly. But not in an annoying way, more like to really understand things, right?
Right. It's about curiosity, but not just random curiosity. Varol talks about thought experiments, and he uses Galileo as an example.
Oh, like Galileo, the one who figured out gravity.
That's the one. But he didn't actually drop stuff off the Leaning Tower of Pisa, like they say.
He didn't. I always thought that was a real experiment.
Nope, it's a myth. Galileo, he did these thought experiments, like playing out scenarios in his head, challenging what everyone thought they knew.
So just by, like, imagining different possibilities, he made this huge discovery about how the universe works.
Exactly. And sometimes those thought experiments, they lead to some pretty wild ideas. Varol talks about Project Loon. Remember that one?
Was that the Google thing? With the, like, internet balloons?
Yeah. Google X wanted to beam internet to remote places using giant balloons in the sky. Sounded crazy, right?
A little bit, yeah.
But that's what Varol's saying. Sometimes those out there ideas, they turn into real innovation. It's about pushing those boundaries,
Thinking outside the box, literally in this case. So it's like embracing uncertainty and letting your imagination run wild.
Exactly. Because if you're only focused on what's already been done, you're kind of stuck,
Makes sense. But okay, I got to ask, I can't imagine rocket scientists just like launching stuff into space without testing it first, right?
Of course not. But even their approach to testing is different. They've got this principle: test as you fly as you test.
Okay, so what does that even mean? They're not just, like, winging it, are they?
Not at all. They build testing into every single step. Varol talks about how astronauts train, and it's intense. They're not just reading manuals, they're doing these crazy simulations.
Oh, wow. Like, way tougher than the real thing.
Sometimes, yeah. It's like that saying, the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle.
So they're basically prepping for every possible disaster.
Pretty much. And it's not just technical stuff either. They practice dealing with the mental pressure, being isolated, all those curveballs space can throw at you.
Because space is totally unpredictable.
Right.
So you got to be ready for anything.
Exactly. And Varol talks about IDEO, that design firm. They're all about understanding people, like really getting inside their heads.
Oh, right. They do that human-centered design stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, really focusing on the user's experience.
Exactly. And they test their ideas out in the real world, not just in some lab. There's that story about how they redesigned a hospital.
Oh, yeah. Didn't one of their designers actually check himself in as a patient?
He did. It sounds extreme, but they wanted to see what it was really like from the patient's perspective.
And I remember the designer had this realization, right? He was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and it hit him. How much time patients spend looking up.
Exactly. And they never would have thought of that just sitting in their office. It totally changed their whole approach. And it leads to another big lesson from rocket science: embracing failure.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say embrace failure?
I did. Not just accepting it, but like welcoming it with open arms.
Okay, now that is a tough one. Who wants to fail?
Right. It sounds counterintuitive, but think about it. Every rocket launch, every space mission, it's built on a ton of failures. Every experiment that went wrong, every explosion, it all taught them something.
So it's like they're not afraid to mess up because they know they'll learn from it.
Exactly. And Varol uses Elon Musk and SpaceX as an example. Those first Falcon 1 launches, let's just say, they didn't exactly go to plan.
Yeah, those were pretty explosive, weren't they?
To put it mildly. But did Musk give up? No way. He used each of those failures to learn, tweak his designs, and eventually he achieved what everyone thought was impossible.
So it's not about avoiding failure. It's about failing the right way, failing intelligently.
Exactly. And you know what? There's a flip side to this whole thing. We've got to watch out for the danger of success.
The danger of success, what do you mean?
Well, when things are going well, it's easy to get complacent, right? We start pushing ourselves, stop questioning. And that's when we're really vulnerable to making big mistakes.
Because we're not expecting them. We think we've got it all figured out.
Exactly. So how do we walk that line? Embrace failure, but not get cocky when things go well? It's a tough one.
Sounds like it takes a rocket scientist to figure that out, huh?
Right. Well, Varol calls it intelligent failure. Not all failures are created equal, right?
So some failures are just like flops, but others actually teach us something.
Exactly. He talks about how NASA has this flight rules document. It's huge.
Flight rules. Sounds serious.
It is. It's basically a giant list of all their mistakes and how to avoid them from like decades of space flight. They write it all down, every little thing, so they don't repeat it.
Wow, so they're actively tracking their failures. That's kind of cool, actually.
It's brilliant. They even share it with other space agencies. Can you imagine?
That's some serious transparency. Like, hey, we messed up here, learn from our pain.
Exactly. Because, let's face it, sometimes it's easier to learn from other people's mistakes than our own.
Oh, absolutely. Less ego involved.
Uh-huh. Right. And that whole idea ties into psychological safety, which Varol talks about too, especially in those high-pressure jobs.
Like if you're a brain surgeon, you better feel comfortable speaking up if you see something off.
Exactly. But you'll only speak up if you know it's okay to make a mistake, right? That you won't be punished for it.
Yeah, you need that sense of trust. Like, hey, we're all in this together. We're going to make mistakes. Let's just learn from them.
Exactly. And that takes us back to embracing uncertainty. If everyone's scared to say, I don't know, mistakes are bound to happen.
Because nobody wants to rock the boat, even if they see an iceberg ahead.
Right. So it's about fostering this environment where people can learn from each other, where mistakes are like stepping stones, not roadblocks.
So instead of just focusing on the outcome, it's more about the process of getting there, even if it's messy.
Yes. It's about asking, what did we learn? Not just, did we win or lose?
That's a good one for the fridge magnet. What did we learn? I like it. But we've got to remember that even when we do win, Well, there's that danger of success we talked about.
Right, we can't get complacent. Varol uses the example of the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was tragic. Wasn't it something about foam hitting the wing during launch?
Yeah, and NASA had seen that happen before, but they'd gotten used to it. They didn't see it as a big deal until it was too late.
That's a stark reminder that even the smallest things can have huge consequences.
It's what they call normalization of deviance. Basically, we get so used to things being a certain way, even if they're not right, that we stop seeing the problem.
Just like that saying, if you see something, say something, but applied to, like, everything in life.
Exactly. Always be on the lookout for those creaky steps, those things we've normalized but could be warning signs.
Right, don't just ignore them because it's easier to look the other way. So stay curious, stay vigilant, even when things are going great.
Yes. Like Varol says, cultivate that day one mentality. Remember when Jeff Bezos said that? Every day at Amazon is day one.
Oh, right, like never lose that fresh perspective, that drive to keep pushing forward.
Exactly. Stay hungry, stay curious. So we've covered a lot of ground today, from embracing uncertainty to intelligent failure to the importance of staying curious, like a rocket scientist.
It's a lot to think about. So for everyone listening, our big takeaway, our challenge for you is this. What day one project are you ready to launch? What impossible dream are you finally ready to reach for? Because as they say, the sky's not the limit when there are footprints on the moon.